Hello, and welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people. And I was just excited because I just noticed the smoke from my incense is occasionally going in front of the camera, which is perfect for the spooky kind of ambiance we're going for in
Right,
today.
I'll like put
Yeah,
my little guy for
on your
spooky.
shoulder.
Yeah, if you guys are watching the YouTube, you can see my little skeleton wolfie dog thing. He's from a book, but he looks spooky for the moment, so he's
And
hanging
he's
out.
adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the smoke. Haha.
Hey,
Anyway,
welcome. We're doing spooky story time with Emily and Crystal Lynn because next week there's an eclipse and we're going to want to talk about that and honor that space, but it's also Halloween in that episode purview. So we figured we'd do spooky story time now.
I'm also, for anybody who's watching YouTube and just watching my gaze shift suspiciously to the side, it's because I got a new incense holder and it's supposed to catch ash from an incense stick. And I am about to see if that's true. And I'm a little
Hmm.
nervous about it.
It's a cauldron, also spooky.
Yeah, it is. I would hold it to show you, but that would derail everything. So
Oh, I should have been drinking out of my cauldron mug. I didn't even think about it.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
we're gonna have
well,
to
I
do
had to
like
keep
a spooky party for the patrons. We'll do that when we
or something
our
like that.
video for the month.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So first of all, how doozy was that solar eclipse?
Uh-huh. Lots of people are talking about how
Who?
there's an eclipse hangover occurring.
Yeah,
Um, I can
for
relate.
sure.
And like it wasn't even angular for me. I finally get to say that. It wasn't even angular for me. I
Lucky.
did have a nice little epiphany that rounded out something that sort of shows like I'm transitioning out of the angular eclipses and into something else. And
Oh,
I had a
nice.
lot of fun thoughts about why the south node moving backwards just makes sense. But
Yeah.
it's astrology nerding out, and my incense is getting real big now, which is great. Um,
I am
so
so glad for you and your lack of eclipse pointiness.
only because I survived.
I know. No, I'm only giving Krista a hard time because they did this when I'm feeling they felt all last year, and now I get to feel it this year because that's just how our charts line up. It's super interesting, but
Every time I go
it
through
is.
something, you're right on the heels, and it's like, okay, I just did this. Let me turn around and try to like prepare you. Um,
So yeah, I was so I couldn't do anything
mhm.
all day on Saturday. I woke up, it caught it.
It caught the incense. I'm super happy.
Um,
I'm
the
sorry.
little cauldron
Yep.
does catch ash like it's designed to do. So
Yeah.
massive win. Because it didn't both of us were kind of like,
Well,
work.
it was close, but that little lip
Yeah.
on the edge really made a difference. So
Oh, good.
anyway, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, glad to know that. Yeah, I woke up on Saturday and I did see the eclipse, but in shadows, not in, I didn't have my glasses. I
Mhm.
couldn't find my eclipse glasses. It's from the movie. It's fine. So I went outside with my daughter and we just like saw the shadows on the ground as the eclipse was
This
like
is another really
progressing.
cool way to do that. That's really neat.
It was super cool. It was super cool. We enjoyed it. We couldn't see it fully because we were a little bit late, but it was still like half moon looking shadows. It was really interesting. Super cool. So that was fun. And then I went to a soccer game and then I came back home and I laid on the couch. Whoops, there goes my little guy. I laid on the couch for like for like hours because that was all I could do. It was just really intense. I had no energy to do anything or like function like at all.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it was a rough one. And I know that a lot of people were feeling that. I had a call with like my mentorship group the day before the eclipse and people were already like, whoa, like there's like gravity. It's feeling like I'm being pulled right.
Hmm.
Yes, correct.
That would be the nodes for you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly that.
Hmm.
So definitely eclipse hangover. Take care of yourself. It hopefully is subsiding by Thursday. We obviously are recording this on Monday, so for us it's
Hmm.
like very fresh.
Yeah.
But it should be subsiding by Thursday when you listen to this or
Yeah.
Friday or
At
whenever.
this point on Thursday, you're beginning to feel the incoming Mercury Cazimi. We are halfway between Mercury retrogrades again already. So the next one is in December. But
Yeah.
this Mercury Cazimi, so the Sun and Mercury exactly conjunct each other, is followed almost immediately by Mercury squaring Pluto. So
Yeah.
again, pretty spooky energy with that. So we thought, why not do spooky episode now?
Exactly. So When we say spooky, both of us are absolute weenies when it comes to actual scary stuff.
I wouldn't say
Uh,
we're not weenies. We're just like not for it. It's not necessary.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like the how okay. My decorate let me tell you the decorations that are on my lawn right now. This will give you a taste of the type of Halloween that I love. We got those trash bags with the pumpkins, the pumpkin trash bags, and we stuffed those in there. But we also got ones that are mummies and kitties and ghosts. And I put the ghost one right next to some of my blow up decorations because in the daytime, when the blow up decorations are down, it looks like the ghost is very, very shocked that they have died. So it's in there like, oh, that was the intention.
I like your impression of the ghost surprise.
Oh, oh, they are fat. But then at nighttime, when it's very spooky out, we turn on our inflatables and we have a unicorn popping out of a pumpkin, and we have a little ghost with a rainbow sign that says spooky.
Nice. I love
That's
it.
the type of Halloween that we do.
I like it.
I like that. Like I like that type of Halloween stuff. I do not like the gore and horror element of it all that
Mhm.
much.
Yeah, I
So
mean, we actually, because a lot of people around here do decorate for Halloween.
yeah.
And so my sister-in-law is one of them, and they did a wonderful job. They went, they invested in their decorations.
Hmm.
It is basically a haunted house on their front yard. And so we
Yeah.
went to look at it, and like 40-foot tall stuff or higher. So it was cool. And then on the drive back, we went, and this one guy actually did a really great job. It reminded me of the Fantasia scene with the horses that rise out of the
Oh,
depths.
that's
Like there were
cool.
horses, and like there's a whole storyline that goes through his whole yard. Like if he opens this up for people to walk through, I probably will, just out of respect for the storytelling, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a lot of like hardcore decoration. They've been even talking about it on the news about how people are decorating more because they couldn't get out during the pandemic and they invested in that. And it's cool. We because we're moving, first of all, have not decorated in anticipation of Halloween. Typically, I would stick more to like the nature and the harvest stuff.
Yeah.
I have already though bought a corgi reindeer lawn ornament for Christmas.
That's fantastic.
I knew they were going to sell out, and if Lowe's was going to put them out like now, I was going to grab it for the new
Hmm.
house so that we could make our first impression, just so y'all know we have corgis here and we like Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, we love Christmas too. We're big Christmas people. So yeah, neither of us are super into like the spooky, scary bits. That being said,
Mhm.
a lot of stuff in our spiritual psychicness that have would terrify the living heck out of people.
Yeah, we don't do it in our free time because it's
Oh,
our day job.
yeah, like it's so funny because like when there's scary, like scary, spooky things, um, first of all, when those are around, like totally different person. Like I don't know
Mhm.
about you, but my Scorpio moon comes out and goes, "Oh, I got this. Don't stress."
Imperturbable. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'll
Like,
take
oh,
this
it's
one.
fine. So lots of spooky things there, but not scary. When I was young, they were very scary, but
Mhm.
they're not scary anymore.
Yeah.
So we want to share some spooky story times and what we the scary stuff.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk? Why don't you start?
Yeah, I've got several. And it's funny because most
Hmm.
of them center around one room in my house that I grew up in from age 8 to, 18 or whatever. And it
Hmm.
actually wasn't the house. It was a combination of, me and my energies, and then eventually something that was put into that room. So I'm going to split it into two stories. One story of things that happened before this thing was in that room, and then I can talk about what happened after the thing was in that room when we get back around to a different story.
Perfect.
So this actually is a lesson in good psychic boundaries. And I think
Hmm.
all spooky stories really are. But when I was a kid, I to this day still have like little panic flare-ups, thinking too much about death. Scorpio moon in the first house, it happens. I think about it a lot. I encounter it often. So it's something that like is more forefront in my mind and in my life experience. And I remember when I was roughly 17, um, I was in the den, or what would be considered a playroom or something, like an upstairs living room to anybody who's looking for context. And I was in there and it was dark. And I was just like, I had my eyes closed for whatever reason. And I would see faces when my eyes were closed frequently. So a
Hmm.
face popped up and it looked like a woman gasping for air. And so I got all of these details about her hair, her eye color, all of these things, ran downstairs, told my parents what I had seen, and they knew enough to be like, well, we'll keep that in mind. And then the next day, a teacher at our school had passed away from a lung issue. So, unable to breathe. And this happened for a period of time where it's like before someone who was important to someone I knew passed away, I would see their face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, first of
That's
all,
so, yeah. I'm
I
so sorry
can't
because
do
that is
anything about it.
brutal.
Right? I'm like, I can't do anything about it. I don't know who this is because they're not direct to me, right? They're
No.
important to a loved one of mine. And so
Hmm.
it's like, if I can't do anything to help anybody with this, it needs to stop. And, I think in hindsight, it was a sort of acknowledge what you're capable of and acknowledge that this thing is there. And now that
Yeah.
you acknowledge it, we can put boundaries on it because you'll actually use it respectfully, that kind of thing. Or I
Hmm.
think I would have had the option to just say, no, don't want this, stop doing it altogether. I decided to put boundaries on it and be like, if I can help somebody, then I'm willing to see something. If I
Yeah.
can't do anything about it, leave me the heck alone.
Mhm.
And it did end up stopping. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was always like a face reflective of whatever they were struggling with or whatever was happening as they were transitioning, which
That's
was
awful.
not my favorite thing. Yeah, and even
Yeah.
when your eyes are
Mhm.
closed. I think the one with the woman actually was scary because the room was dark, so I could see it without my eyes closed, which is why I was particularly not happy about it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's
Cool.
no fun. Dislike that. 0 out of 10. No. Um, yeah,
Wouldn't watch
that's
it
scary.
again. Thank you. How about you?
Cool. Um, yeah, well, I don't know if I told this story last time. Maybe I did. If I did, sorry, repeat, but you get my storytelling again. Yay. When I worked at the Corral, we would go riding out as just our guides, like just my coworkers. We would after hours take some horses out and go riding through like the meadows and the forest like behind. And where I live, the forests are a very activated place. They're not in any way dead. Let's just put it that way. They are very, very active. Krista's been here and felt it, and they're very intense. They're intense. Lots of spiritual energy there. So one time, this actually happened twice in different kind of iterations, but one time we're riding back and we were getting back way late, like way later than we were supposed to get back. It was not supposed to be as dark as it was when we were moving through this forest. We did not bring flashlights. This was not like I don't know how we lost track of time to such an extent, but we very much did. And by the time we were like cresting the hill to like come back down the hill towards like the corral, which was still like easily 15 minutes away because at nighttime you're not going to go any faster than a walk. Bears, mountain lions, all the things.
Mhm.
There was three of us, and all of a sudden it looked like four people just like ran across the trail in front of us. And we were all just like, whoa. And the horses didn't react, didn't see him, nothing. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I like turned to my coworker. I'm like, did you see that? Did you see those people? And they're like, what the f-? And I was like, oh, it's a me thing now. Okay, got it. This is what we're doing. Um, and as we're going, and I hear very loud, like chanting, whining, sort of yelling kind of in the forest along the sides. And so immediately I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tune in. Like, what is this? Because no one else is hearing it. The horses are not reacting. It's just me seeing this. Um, and that land that we were on, which we knew, was very, very connected to like the Washoe Native American tribe. And so I'm like, are you them? Is this what it is? To the point where like there had been archaeological digs out there that year to dig to find stuff left over from the Washoe people, like very, very connected. Um, and I couldn't get anything back but this like high-pitched whining noise all the way back to the coast, like all the way back there. And I kept being like, are you guys hearing this? Or is this just me? Like, no one else could hear it. It was just me, literally just me hearing all of the spooky stuff. And then the second we actually like got back within the fence of the corral space, it stopped, like cut off. Super creepy, not super fun at all.
Yeah.
And we were already late and it was really dark and like, all right, freaked out enough that there was going to be something in the forest that was going to eat us, like
Mhm.
actually. And then just to have the spiritual stuff on top of that was not super pleasant. I don't know. I still don't really know what it was. I do know that I've never gone back out there after dark though.
I mean, that's called respect. I don't
Hmm.
think that that's fear. I think it's
No,
the something has held a boundary with me and I'm respecting that boundary.
100%.
Hmm.
We were near there once, a couple different times because it was kind of near where my old house was. And like on the other side of kind of like a little like hill sort of mountain from there, we would walk up there to go see the fireworks on the 4th of July. And every time coming back down, because it'd be dark at that point, every time coming back down, I'd be like, do I hear it? Do I see it? Is there anything around? And never had any other issues on that side of the hill. So it was obviously something just on the other side for whatever reason.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So lovely.
Hmm.
Loved that. And I wasn't at a space where I was super duper comfortable or super duper confident with this stuff yet. Like I knew what I was doing and I was doing kind of readings for people in like a tarot or like talking to your guide sort of way. But as far as me being comfortable like going into a haunted house like I would now and
Yeah.
sending stuff out or talking to them or bringing them cookies or whatever, that's not me then. So there was
Mm-mm.
definitely an element of that that was not fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got?
I like the little guest appearances by
He was like,
your plush. Hi. Um, oh, let's see. So follow up. The other thing that happened in this room actually started in a separate room. And I'm inspired by this one because I was inadvertently asked about this on a Instagram live I did earlier today. And it reminded me of this, which is really funny. So back when the tsunami happened in India,
I was
my
just gonna
mo-
say, which one?
yeah, in India,
Yeah,
the first one that we were all like, whoa, that's a
the
big deal.
big deal one. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, my mom, and this happened to us a lot growing up, my mom would suddenly just have a connection and be able to go and help. Like we helped with Hurricane Katrina, we helped with randomly in Bulgaria or Romania or
Mhm.
insert Uganda, we were able to go, and then she would make friends and we'd be able to go back. And it's really cool that we had these opportunities. And she got to go to India. She didn't feel it was safe for me as like a 16-year-old or whatever to go. um and
Probably smart.
well, I mean, I think we've already talked about how I've been almost kidnapped multiple times.
Yes.
So I think that was a good instinct, which is good.
Hmm.
So she went without me. But when she came back, she brought back like beautiful stuff, obviously, right? So such
Hmm.
gorgeous things. But she had gone, I don't know how she got this home. She brought back a gramophone, like an actual record player with the big, like golden metal trumpet that was hammered in gorgeous ornament. It was a wood casing with the crank on it and everything. So pretty. Like I was in awe of it. And then she put it in the back corner of our living room. Now, at the same time, not only was I dealing with stuff just in general, because I was, a person growing up with intuitive abilities and trying to get used to them, but also wasps had infested our house in the middle of winter.
Yeah,
And
that's fun.
my room was their favorite room. So I would often get stung up there, or, just because I didn't want to fall asleep and have a wasp nearby, I would end up sleeping on the couch in the living room. So there was the couch, and then behind the couch was a doorway, and then a lamp with the record player next to it.
Hmm.
And as I would be trying to sleep, I would feel someone standing behind me. And I hated it. And I couldn't make it go away. I couldn't do anything about it. I would just stay up until the sun started coming up, and then I'd fall asleep. And eventually she moved the record player upstairs into the very same den where
Hmm.
I was seeing faces and things. And then I would be trying to sleep. And right as I was getting ready to sleep, I would close my eyes, not drowsy yet, not in theta or anything.
Hmm.
And I would see the hallway in my in clairvoyance. I would see the hallway and I would see something humanoid but on all fours crawl out of the den, cross the hallway into my room through my door, and then come to the bed right next to me and just stare at me. And it did it in that whole like creepy,
Yeah, I
bug
know.
way. Yet not my favorite thing. So I for a while was sleeping with a Bible under one of my pillows, so I could just pull that out and like go through random verses and open up to it and just like move my mind away from giving attention to it. And eventually, my dad and I were very into ghost hunting shows, and so I had a lot of machines and tools to try to help validate my intuitive ability, which was my goal.
Hmm.
And so we went one night and set up cameras in the den to see what was in there, to see what was going on. Got honestly absolutely nothing on the tools and all
Mhm.
the recordings and everything like that. So we went in there and my dad said, "What in here is causing this for you? Like what in here is so it's so frustrating?" Because it had been years at this point that I'd been dealing with it. This
Mhm.
was years after she had come home from India. And so I put my hands out and I was like, where is the thing that's bothering me? And I let them guide me to the record player. And mom was out of town because she traveled a lot for work. And so dad was like, oh no. And I was like, we can't destroy the record player, particularly not while mom is gone. She was
Mhm.
so mad. But then my hands touched the record. The record player came with a record. And
Mm.
when I played the record, everything in me reacted. And then if you think about it, right? Thinking about talismans and images and waves and
Yeah.
things like that, how talismanic a record is with it, with the
Mhm.
sound scratched into it. So it made so much sense that the energy waves of sound were kind of ensouled in the record. Whether it was just the person had invoked something inadvertently with the words on the record or whatever, I couldn't understand the language. So I really don't know the specifics. But dad was like, listen, we can't destroy the gramophone, but we can destroy the record. So we took the record and we broke it a couple times and we safely burned it outside. And I tell you what, from then on, I didn't have a problem with the gym or with the den.
And
Yeah. So
good
I,
job, Dad.
yep. And then mom came
Like the
home. She's like,
gramophone will be fine, but let's burn this record.
yeah. And so when mom got home, she's like, well, I guess that's okay. Like, kudos to my parents, right?
Mhm.
Krista believes that this thing is possessed. We're going to destroy it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
About as much as you can ask for from parents at that point.
Mhm.
So
And I appreciate that even she was like, okay.
yes, we joked about it a couple times after that, and she was like, "But it was a record, and it was from India, and it was like native languages and stuff." And I was like, "I know, but it was causing some stuff. I don't know. Let's get another one that we actually know what it's saying, and
Like,
consciously
and
choose
it
the
was
record this
possessed.
time."
So like,
Yeah, let's choose a record on purpose next time.
no thanks then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no fun. Okay, fun, not like to break up that energy a little bit
Yeah.
as far as the spooky stuff goes. What is your favorite Halloween costume you have ever
Oh,
worn? If you are a longtime listener of this podcast, you know I don't like Halloween at all. As far as costumes and all of that stuff goes. So I
yeah.
remember a couple that I had, but what about you?
My favorite, which is second only to the time I've sewn costumes for myself before, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that. I did make myself a Link costume, tunic and hat.
Wow,
Um,
what a surprise.
I
I
know, right?
never would have guessed this.
Nope. No, nobody could see me trying to be Link. But anyway, when I was in first grade, I
Mhm.
won the class costume party competition as a sky dancer. Do you remember sky dancers? Those
Yes, the
boys where you
Barbies
just
that you would like, not
win
Barbies, but
and they flew, man. So
uh-huh.
this costume on the arms had the little wing things. And if there's one thing I
That's
want
so
more than to be
cool.
Link, it's to be able to fly. So
Right.
anytime I got to be a fairy or whatever, it was perfect. But the Sky Dancer had the wings built right into me. I wasn't wearing them on
Mhm.
my back or anything like that. I had wings, and it was the best thing ever.
Okay, that's a really cool costume. That's
Right.
really cool.
Yeah.
Also, I loved those toys so deeply. We had like 3 or 4, and they would hurt so bad when they hit you in the face, but they were so
But like we were the generation that was like, we've been hit worse. Not by like
well, that's
specific things, but yeah.
no. Well, I mean, have you ever played with a skip it? It would
Yeah. Skip it
kill
will
your
break your
shins.
ankles. Yeah.
So we could take a sky dancer to the face
Yeah.
any day.
We were the sock and boppers generation too. We literally
Um,
had inflatable punch each other with this stuff. So
how could you give your kids these toys if they're
it's funny
annoying
if it makes
you?
a funny sound.
Well, what toy was I looking for? Oh, I had this kit. This is just a side note because I always do a Halloween party with my kids each year. Pull them out of school. We do stuff like all day long during Halloween, which is so fun. We love it so much. And it's the best. But I was looking for when I was a kid, I didn't even think about this to keep this in mind. We had this kit, like a kit from Target or whatever, and we ended up buying refill after refill after refill for this kit because we loved it so much. But basically, it was these little plastic beads. not quite beads, they're like little squares of plastic, and you would put them like on, how does it work? You put them on a piece of tin foil in like a random colorful array of whatever, and then you put it in the oven and bake them
Mhm.
till they were
Like the perler beads, right?
like kind of, no, perler beads you do with an iron.
Fair.
But they were clear and like see-through. They were like stained glass, but glass beads or
Yes. Okay.
plastic
Yeah.
beads.
I
And you
remember
do it
them.
till there was like a flat pancake, and then you
Yep.
take the tin foil out and you'd flip it over on top of a can, and then you'd do it again, and it would make a bowl
Hmm.
out of these cool glass things. I still have some of them. I was like, I want these, I want these, I want these. Like, where are they? I wanted these with the kids for the Halloween thing. And I was like, oh, those are probably so fucking toxic.
These may not
Let me
be
just
safe anymore.
let's just oven these little chunks of plastic. And we did it so much. But that was literally just yesterday. I was looking at that and I was like, why can't I find those? I'm like, oh, well, that's probably why.
Hmm.
It's probably super carcinogenic.
It's like those things you used to get around Easter, actually, where it would have a metal tube and then just these weird smelling pink blobs, and you could blow the bubbles with them. Do you remember
Oh
those? Those
yeah.
probably aren't safe either.
No, that screams choke on me. Like,
Yeah. Well, and like inhaling something. I'm not
mhm.
sure.
I
Yeah.
remember those though. I loved those.
Yeah.
What was that even called?
I don't
Let us
know.
know on the YouTube comments if you know what
Yeah.
that goo is called.
Yep.
Like a slime goo.
You
Dang it.
just,
Anyway.
yeah. Hmm.
Hmm. Those were fun. Those are fun. I was Tweety Bird one year, and that was pretty fun.
Aw, that somehow, I could see you pulling off Tweety Bird in the best charismatic way possible.
Thank you. I was very obsessed with Tweety Bird
Tweety
and
Bird had a
Sylvester.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I was between Mary Kate and Ashley and Tweety Bird, my
Yep.
hyperfixations were just like, not to mention I was a horse girl. So there
Yeah.
is that, just like all neurodivergency. Anyway, so
The 90s
I
were
was
built.
Tweety Bird and I couldn't find a full Tweety Bird costume. Like I couldn't find like I wanted to, now you could probably find a Tweety Bird that had like little inflatey thing and you could be like inflatey Tweety Bird, but that wasn't a thing. It
Yeah.
was the early 90s. So I had big Tweety Bird slippers that like were big Tweety Bird heads. And then I had glow in the dark Tweety Bird pajamas that I wore. And they it snowed that year, and so at school I was like, I must wear the slippers or else I'm not dressed as Tweety Bird. And my mom was
Right.
like, okay. So she put plastic bags for the Tweety Bird slippers so I could wear them to school that day. It was pretty lovely. So that was a big one. And then one year I went as Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, entirely thrifted.
That's perfect.
And I thought I was so cool because I found pink paper and I sprayed it with perfume and I put it in my pink purse and then I just passed it to people.
I love that. The commitment. Oh, it's so good.
No, there. Yeah, that was sixth grade.
Yep. I think I was a
And my
pop
school.
star in sixth grade.
Yeah. Yeah, my best friend was Hilary Duff specifically for sixth grade. So I
Mhm.
think we were all in the same
Yep.
vein,
It's another thing that happened.
right? My daughter this year, my kids' costumes this year, my son is going as Ken. He is Knuff hoodie and wig and everything. My eldest daughter is a panda, complete with like hands, paws,
Oh.
which is really cute. And then my youngest is going to be Elphaba from Wicked. She completely greenified, etc.
Mhm.
And I love that costume. I think it's amazing. How many middle schoolers do you know that know Elphaba is?
I mean, me
Was
in
like
middle
the
school, but it had
teachers,
just come out. So
right? Exactly. I'm like the teachers will so appreciate it. Like
yeah.
you individual person.
I was a theater kid, but not in the high school because the person who ran theater in high school hated me for some unknown reason that they never named. So I was the community theater kid.
Mm,
So I would do like 2 or 3 shows a summer and a couple in the fall, and I would have to travel to the different community theaters to do it. So I was like, one
okay.
here and then drive an hour to this one and then another one to this. My poor parents before I had a license.
Driver's license.
Yeah.
I understand. That's like us here too. We drive. We'll go down to Carson and we go down to Gardnerville and we go all
Yeah.
over the
And the
place
whole
for
drive
Lee's
we had the
Theater.
Wicked soundtrack on everywhere.
Yep.
That was how we warmed up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so she will be defying gravity in her witchy garb. Yeah, super fun. I don't know if we're gonna get trick-or-treaters. I keep like we bought a bunch of candy because I honestly don't know about this neighborhood. I know there's not a lot of kids in our specific neighborhood, but that doesn't actually mean anything around here. It could still
Yeah.
be a
I I don't
candied
know about
place.
this neighborhood because we weren't here last year. And I don't know about our new one because we won't be there until just after we're going to move in on the 3rd of November. So I'm going to just miss Halloween there.
Mhm.
So,
But you get to do Christmas there, and that's what matters.
yeah, as soon as we move in, probably will on Thanksgiving, we tend to decorate. So that'll get a couple weeks of us being relatively normal, and then we're going to
Mhm.
bust out the corgi stuff because it's a
I will say
personality.
what I love is living where I do. I have been to multiple like Samhain celebrations,
Mm,
etc., that are very community focused, which is so incredible because that's like, obviously that's like the Wiccan version of Samhain for the most part, or the Celtic version, which it is a Celtic holiday.
mhm.
But it's neat that it's acceptable enough that there are like specific events for it that are not spooky Halloween costume. It's like let's get together and do a ritual, and it's
Yeah.
cool. So I do really appreciate that energy about it. A lot. Oh, let's see. Any other spooky stories coming to mind that you want to share before we're
Oh,
done?
I was gonna mention the one that's not a spooky story, but it's kind of a funny story. I don't know if I
Okay.
told it last year about the one I only ever had a Halloween party once.
Oh yeah,
Um,
tell us that.
I've had very few parties in my childhood because neurodivergent. But when I did, it was a first year living in our new house at the time, and we lived in the middle of 18 acres of woods.
Hmm.
And so I was already scared because we lived in the middle of 18 acres of woods and signs came out like that year. So I was,
Mm,
farms were the only thing around the woods. It was a thing for me. I had closet doors that were mirrors. So I was convinced I was going to wake up and one of those aliens was going to be in my mirror. Um, but anyway, my mom was like, why don't you throw a Halloween party for all of your friends? And we were in 5th grade. So I was, I guess, 11 at this point. Um, and we was like, okay, cool, we'll do that. So all the people came to this party. I don't know how, because I literally was the person who would have a party later. This may have been where I made a bad impression. I'm not sure because people would just not show up to parties later. So, but this one, everybody was there. And so I think this probably was like my bid for popularity. And I think I bit
mm,
it because I had a playhouse out the back and it had like a Dutch door and it was adorable. I put a door in there, made like a loft out of it. I had power running to it with a extension cable. I was set up with my own little house in these little woods. It was the perfect little, like what I would consider now like a little witch cottage she shed kind of situation. Uh,
hmm.
so we went into our basement, did a like costume party, fashion show. And I had said to my mom beforehand, nothing scary. We're going to enjoy
Hmm.
costumes. We're going to have candy. We're going to have desserts. And that's what it's going to be. So we go in and we're doing the costume party. And all of a sudden, the Bilco doors, metal Bilco doors on our basement, something starts banging on them. And immediately I was like, Mom, why? I know this is you. I said no scary stuff. And she was like, I don't know. I didn't do this. I don't know what it is. And I was like, fine. I guess I'll just like in my brain, it was like, I guess it didn't exist then. Fine. We'll just move on.
Hmm.
So then it's like, let's go show all your friends your playhouse with all the lights and everything. So we go up there and we're like singing songs and whatever. And all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of everybody right in front of the Dutch door. Dutch
Hmm.
door is important. So I'm in front of the Dutch door. Everybody's around me. It's like 11 5th grade girls in a tiny house, tiny, tiny house, like smaller than a room. And the power goes out. The lights went out. So immediately I know what's happening. So I drop
Hmm.
to the ground, all fours huddled up like this. And I'm a highly religious kid, right? Because I'm spiritual and all that stuff. I have a relationship with spirits and energies. So I'm sitting there literally out loud shouting to myself, there's nothing to fear because God is near. There's nothing to fear because God is near. And so I get myself brave. I've survived brain surgery and everything to this point. Okay. I finally get myself
Back though.
brave enough to open my eyes and I am face to face with a chainsaw and a gorilla mask because the banging on the Bilco door was my dad and my brother going out to get a scream mask, a gorilla mask, and a chainsaw. Now, the entire time that I was telling myself that there was nothing to fear because God was near, my dad couldn't get the chainsaw to work. But the minute I was able to open my eyes, it worked. So I start screaming, I can't believe you did this to me. You promised you wouldn't do this to me. I can't believe you did this to me. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, all of my friends are back in the house. The party's dissolving at that point, and my parents are walking me back down, promising I can sleep on their floor that night because I was going to be scared because they put me in fear. And if I'm in fear when I'm trying to sleep, stuff happens. And the only redeeming thing was that on the way back down to the house, Sean, my brother, ran into a tree. And that made me laugh.
Honestly, asshole move. Like that,
Yeah.
trust issues. That's where that comes from.
Yep.
I'm lucky because my parents are not, they don't like scary shit either. So like they never have. I never have. It's never been a thing for us. I asked my sister actually, I was like, are you gonna do Halloween with your kids this year? She's like, no. It's like, okay, go. She's in the same boat as me, like, no scary things.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I remember when we were kids, it was the era of like the blood pump masks. So like you were still allowed to wear masks to school, right? Like that was still a thing.
Yeah.
It's not now, in case you're wondering, not a thing. But those would terrify me. Like they were the worst
Well, and they
things
always
ever.
broke, so they would leak. Like so people would come to school with them on, and it's like, great, there's the red in the hallway. Thankfully, like it was fake that time, but
yeah, exactly. Like, but no one finds those, I think, as fun anymore as they did at the time.
It was borderline then.
It
was post Columbine
awful.
9/11 world at that point, so we were all just like,
Yeah. Oh, I think mine was before that. But I'm thinking of it. I don't think I saw anything after. I was like,
oh, mine was definitely
10.
high school. So,
Oh, really? Yeah, no. Elementary school kids is what I'm talking about. Well, I lived in a really rich community. I was not.
I
There was
was
like
just about
six
to
of
say,
us
I'm
that were
pretty
like,
sure trends hit us about 5 years after they were cool. So,
yeah. That's so funny too, because this is something I've actually talked to my aunt about this before too, because like they live in the Midwest, but trends move from
yep,
California
west to east.
over. So we get it first, and then you guys get it like 5 years later. So very weird. So yeah, for me, it was elementary school. It was elementary school, and these little kids would be like in scream masks, like
Yeah.
the blood.
No,
Well, I
not my
hated
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of other spooky ghost stuff too. It's so funny now because like looking back at the scary stuff that happened throughout my life and spiritual spooky, it's all like, what is this? It was this thing. It was just Hope. She poked me here.
Yep. My mom used to try to get me to watch scary movies by being like, look, they're doing it this way. This is what, Sean got over his fear by just imagining how the director set it up. And I'm like, I don't care how the director set it up. I'm still going to have a ghost in my house tonight. Like, I know I will because I'm watching it and they're going to come through the TV. Like,
Oh my gosh. Did I ever tell you when we watched The Hills Have Eyes? Have I ever told you this story?
oh no, no.
Okay, so again, gross. Hills Have Eyes is awful. I was in Nevada, in the desert. It's where Gardnerville is. It's in the Nevada desert. And my middle school is called Pavaloo, which means people of the valley in Washoe. And I was at a sleepover for a girl's birthday, and she wanted to watch scary movies. I don't do scary movies.
That was every sleepover with all of my friends in high school.
Ew, that's disgusting. No. But I was like, okay, cool. It's like a slumber party. There's a whole bunch of people. Like it's not just me and this one girl. Like we can watch it. And we watched one movie about like weird bug slug things that like took over the world that was like gross and creepy, and I didn't like it at all. And then we watched The Hills Have Eyes, which is horrific. It's not even scary. It's just horrific. It's like in a very rude place. But we're all scared. We're freaked out. It's like, oh, the movie's almost over. And my friend, she has the blanket like pulled up and she's like, oh, and then she like looks at me and she goes, oh my God. And I was like, what? She was like, oh, Louis, people of the valley. Hells. Just freak everybody out. So now every time I drive past that school, I'm like, we're in the hills.
Yeah. See, growing up in Pennsylvania stunk because literally every horror movie was like somewhere in Pennsylvania. Silent Hill.
Really?
Silent Hill takes place
yeah.
in Centralia, which was about half an hour from where I grew up. My city also had fire coming underneath it, so it was very relatable. Yeah. And Signs took place in rural Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia. I was 2.5 hours north of Philadelphia, but I was north of Philadelphia. We had a lot of farm. It was enough for me to believe. So like whatever. Yeah. They all take place Philly side of Pennsylvania.
I was just gonna say, I don't think, I mean, even like thinking about it now, I mean, there's like kidnapping horror movies, that kind of thing that take place in like California, but nothing really in my zone, with the exception of Misery, which is kind of a
Yeah,
horror movie. That was
kind of.
filmed in my neighborhood, literally in
Ooh.
my neighborhood that I grew up in. The Misery houses are still there. Like it's actually an old cowboy camp. So there was
Mhm.
tons of cabins, but there was one cabin that they used for the filming of Misery. I've broken into it many times as a teenager. It's fun. Um, but um, when I figured that out, I was like, oh yeah, creepy cabin in the woods. That tracks. Like this
Mhm.
is a perfect Misery house for
Yeah.
sure. Uh, it was literally in my neighborhood. We would go up there all the time and just sit on the roofs of these cabins. Avoid the chicken coop because the chicken coop was like completely collapsed. It was all sorts
Mhm.
of stuff, but creepy there too. Tons of spiritual energy there too. There was cowboys all over the place.
Yeah. Well,
But
oh,
usually
that
they
was
didn't
the
really
one
give a
thing we
shit about
didn't
you.
talk about was in our writing cabin at the Forgotten Storytellers
Oh
retreat this
yeah.
past 2 weeks. We had somebody there. I think she was more of nature and like an elemental thing.
Hmm.
Um,
He
she
was grumpy.
she initially manifested as a bug, like a giant bug
Hmm.
flying around in the living room. And then she turned into a woman that was a little bit wraith-ish, I
Yeah.
think you could say. Um,
Hmm.
and then throughout the weekend, we had to sort of build up this whole like, hey, we're only here for a couple days. Can you just tolerate us? Like, kind of thing.
Yeah. I gave her a book about the Appalachian Forest and shoved her in a corner.
Yeah. And it worked. Each night she got a
Ah.
little bit nicer because I had to sleep there. And like when I
Yeah.
fell down the steps there, I was just like, if that was you, not cool. But I don't think it was. It was just,
No.
slippery steps. Um, so
Yeah. So that she was spooky though, for
mhm,
sure. But she was literally like I blocked her in a corner next to a fireplace. Like,
yeah. Read a
it's a
book.
book. Here.
We're busy. We're taking
And
care
then
of
she was like, no, I don't want to. And then she was like, okay, I'm good with this.
yeah.
And just chilled. So then I gave her a whole bunch of other books and when we
Books will
left.
change lives.
It
Speaking
will.
of, if you
It
feel
will.
like you want to write a book that could change lives, we are
Yeah.
still taking pictures for Forgotten Storytellers. The
Hmm.
cohort is starting to fill up, and we have some amazing people. So you can already look forward to being surrounded by amazing friends, in
Yeah.
addition to a 50-50 spiritual and book writing program. So cool. Would love to hear your pitch.
Yeah. If you want to write your fiction book in alignment with like channeling in your characters, your guides, your higher self, your astrology, like that's what we do. It's so cool. It's the
Mhm.
coolest thing we do. But yes, please join. It's the most fun. We love it. Um, we would love to have you there. So please submit your pitch. That would be incredible. Also, Japan tickets are live. You can come with us to Japan. Um,
I'm so
so
excited
excited
about that.
about that.
You want to talk about spiritual energy that you can feel. Like, I don't care if my husband who's right here used to say, I'm as spiritual as a rock.
Mm,
But like, even if you believe that about yourself, Japan will share with you a feeling, which is amazing.
yeah, it will be incredibly life-changing for you to come. And I also just want to say, like, I know that the world feels kind of scary right now for a lot of people and is in a lot of
Mhm.
upheaval, and there's so much change happening. And I totally acknowledge and accept that. What I will say is adventure and getting out into the world helps you feel so much better
Mhm.
about it all. Like I don't know, travel is so mind opening and grounding and just loving, and it's something that will just help you navigate
Well, and
everything that goes on in the world from then on out.
it gives you so much perspective
Yeah.
because you can remember that there's so much more,
Yeah.
than whatever a headline is telling us, and that there's more to be able to reach out to, that we're more connected than
Hmm.
sometimes we're led to believe.
Yeah. So anyway, if you have always been interested in going to Japan, we would love for you to travel with us. It makes it safe, it makes it fun.
Mhm.
We have a guide helping us the whole time, and the things that we're going to do, you wouldn't get to do normally on a tour
Yeah.
of anywhere. So please come. Anyway, all of the information, we'll probably put a link below of the YouTube video, or you can go to either of our, links in our bio, click there, and you'll find
Mhm.
all the info. Also, next week we have another really, really big announcement. You'll probably see it beforehand on our social media platforms. So I
Yep.
do just want to preface that. I'm just not quite ready at the time of this recording to say it aloud. But on next week's episode, we'll talk a decent chunk about it. We're stoked. It's something we've
Yeah.
never done before.
Yep. And we're doing it with some
So,
incredible people, and it's going to be accomplishing some really, I think, helpful things.
well, fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a spooky week. And we hope that you
Go make some
go make
magic.
some magic. I don't know.
I don't try to know anymore. I rely on our
Right.
friends to tell us.
Bye.